Hello friends, hey, it's Monica. I'm back, I think, I don't know. But in any case, today's video is another cookie video, which is so random because I'm a photographer, right? And you would think if I was doing instructional videos, they would be about photography. But it seems that I have a calling for baking. Now, I've been baking for a while and I've been doing these like cookie designs for a little while. I am not a professional, y'all. I just do this for fun. And I shared a tutorial last year for some Halloween cookies just to do. And that video is getting crazy attention. So why not do another one? So the first cookie is this one. This one is from Descendants on Disney Channel. If you don't know what it is, you probably don't have kids in your house who watch the Disney Channel. I don't have kids in the house that watch the Disney Channel, but I have nieces and they love this thing. So anyway, this is Mal's heart icon. So I did this one because, I mean, why not, right? This is an actual cookie too. Like, I could eat it if I wanted to. Okay, this one is Jack Skellington, right? From The Nightmare Before Christmas. And this one is, this is the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, the more recent one that was done. If you need to know how to make the icing, I'll link to it down here. And if you need to know how to make the cookie dough, I'll link to it down here. Let me know if you do it and stay tuned. Okay, so let's get started. This is the design from Disney's Descendants. This is Mal's little heart icon. This one I traced on there with edible pen. If you don't have edible pen, I'm going to show you really quickly a technique that you can do with toothpicks. So you want to start out with your cutout shape. It can either be like this, how I have it, where it's like the inside, or you can trace it from, you know, another aspect. I chose to do it this way because the heart doesn't fit perfectly like it should, because the heart shape is a little bit different. So I wanted to be able to fix it like I wanted it. And so that's what I did here. Now I've already done one side of this cookie. That's why I keep putting that other piece up there. And I want to make sure they match nicely. So all I'm doing is taking my toothpick and punching it into the surface of the cookie to outline my shape. If you have a scribe tool that's a little bit sharper than the toothpick, you can actually sometimes drag it and it'll work. But I just find using the poke method works pretty well. Hopefully this view gives you a little bit of a better look at exactly what I'm doing. Pretty much I just go around the whole shape doing the same technique. You can do this with anything. You know, this one's pretty intricate. It works better with something that isn't so intricate because it's easier to tell when it comes to piping. But whatever it is that you do this for, just make sure that you are aware of where your lines are. Notice I keep my little white cutouts. That's just so I can reference back to my shape when I go to pipe it. All right, so that should give you a better look at what the little holes look like. They are just little pin pricks. And when it comes time to pipe, you play connect the dots and pipe those little dots together to make your lines. All right, so here's the cookie that I'm gonna show you now. I actually prefer doing this. It's hard for me to see those little pin pricks sometimes. So if I can get a nice dark line or even fair line, as long as the line is already there, it works so much better. So as you're piping, make sure you don't touch the tip to the cookie. You want to let it hover a little bit and just fall in place. If you look closely, you can see that that's what I'm doing here. Also, I have two separate consistencies for my icing. I have piping consistency, which is a little bit stiffer, and then I have flooding consistency, which is a lot looser and floods easier. In my previous video, the Descendants one before this, I didn't use a separate icing. If you don't have the time or the energy to make two different types of icing for every color you use, that's okay. You can still get some fairly nice cookie designs. My next step, I'm going to use a little bit of white just to add some dimension. The actual logo itself has these little see-through parts, but I just decided to use the white here because the see-through is really intricate. So what I'm going to do is just use some flooding consistency white. You want it to be the same consistency as the black. So whenever you're doing this type of a technique, you want the two icings to have the same consistency, or you'll get these like pits in your icing. So what I'm going to do is just drop the white in there and take my toothpick and spread it out. Now, clean your toothpick every time you stick it back in there, because sometimes it'll pick up the darker icing. And then I'm just going to drag it through there and kind of get some spikes going. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and get this purple in here. For this particular color, I mixed fuchsia with a little bit of purple that looked more like blue. And then, I just kind of tweaked it until I got the color I liked. Now, I just want to note that you want to do the white that was in the black that I just did. It has to be inside of wet icing. Don't wait for it to dry. That's why I went ahead and put it right in before I pipe the purple. I'm going to add some of that white to this purple as well. And so, thinking, streamline it, let's do all the white at the same time. But you don't want to do that. You want to make sure your icing is still really nice and wet when you do that little technique with the white. And notice how I take the toothpick to get into the little crevices. Yeah, you want to make sure, because I'm not using a tiny tip on my pastry bag, I use the toothpick tip. And there's the finished cookie. All I need to do is let it dry. So I just want to note that all of these cookies are using the same cookie cutter, which is a heart one. I think I got it, I don't know, like Valentine's Day or something. And I challenged myself again to just do 3 different designs on the same cookie shape. So this is going to make it easier for you, so you don't have to go out and buy all these different cookie cutters to get all these different looks. If you have 1 or 2, you can get so many different things out of it. Okay, so back to the task at hand. This little cookie is going to be Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, I am not the best at drawing these little eyes out, but you know what? It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's going to look like I want it to look, and people are going to know what it is. I will say, though, that as I'm making this cookie, I'm thinking, wow, this thing looks like an alien. And it's not so much that Jack Skellington looks like an alien. I think it's more that it looks like an alien on top of a heart cookie. So, yeah. So anyway, I am doing the dark parts first, mainly because I want a little bit of a sunken in feel. Now, the eyes aren't going to be sunk in per se, but the nostrils will be. And also, I'm not going to do the mouth until I flood it with white. And the reason being is that I want the mouth to kind of stand out a little bit. Now, also, I am lining or piping the white with the flood consistency icing. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because I wanted a really clean edge on it. I didn't want any sign of the piping, so I just went right up to the edge and put that flooding icing as close as I could get it. Now, if your icing is too runny, it's not going to work. I mean, it's just reality. It's going to go off the side. So be careful if you do that. You don't have to do that at all. You can get yourself your, piping consistency icing, use it on the edge, and then come in and fill it or flood it with the white. If you do this and notice that your black icing is bleeding into your white, take note, and next time you make black icing, let it sit for a little while. Don't just make it and then go right into using it. This particular black icing has been sitting for, I don't know, a few days. Okay, so now here we have our dry cookie. The icing is nice and dry, and I'm gonna go ahead and pipe the mouth on here. So I just remember what I said about don't touch the surface of the cookie or the surface of the icing with the tip. Just let it fall into place. And so that's what I'm doing here. If you are ever piping and notice that there's like, it's not coming out smoothly, it's one of two things. Either your icing is too thick or you're not exerting the proper amount of pressure. You need to keep your pressure uniform and not too much, not too small. So I'm going to go ahead and pipe his mouth on here. I decided to do the open mouth grin, sort of, just because I feel like it fills the shape of the cookie a little better. So I did use flood icing in the open mouth part, and then I went back to my piping bag and went ahead and put the like stitches. I guess those are stitches. Maybe they're teeth. Yeah, I guess since he's a skeleton, why would he have stitches? Okay, teeth, stitches, whatever that is. Yeah. So in the mouth part, because it's a different consistency, I decided not to drag it through the opening. Sometimes you'll get that pitting I talked about before. So I just went ahead and did the top and the bottom like that and tried to match it up as best as I could. And then I went ahead and put in some little eyebrow lines. They're not eyebrows, they just show movement. Okay, so here is the Queen of Hearts. Now, obviously, I am not going to leave this cookie like this. But I did take my edible pen to just kind of roughen the shape. The reason why I did this is because I am going to outline the face in black. Now, I'm not using black on the cookie itself for like, you know, flooding an area, but I am using it for the outlines just because I want this to have more of a painterly look. So her face has a very white look. This is the latest version of the Queen of Hearts. So I'm just going to flood with white icing. That's going to give it that feel. This isn't a realism piece. This is a cookie that is just supposed to have the feel of something. All right, so I went ahead and piped the red. I didn't really let the white dry any length of time. I just had to get my icing in a piping bag. That's the only time that I wasted, or the only time it took. Now, that little part, I did not mean to get it in the white, but I'm going to fix it, and which is great because you need to know how to fix your mistakes. So again, I'm using piping consistency on the edges just because I had to get the little intricate areas, and then flooding consistency on the inside. So I'm using my toothpick to give the icing a little bit of texture. And then I'm just going to take the icing and put a little curly Q on that part that I messed up on earlier. Okay, so I'm going to let this cookie dry all the way before I finalize the look with the face and the eyeshadow and the eyes and all that good stuff. Again, make sure your icing is all the way dry. No cheating here. You need it dry. So you don't have to be an artist to be able to do this. You just have to be able to pipe some lines. Now, I don't have the sturdiest hand, but I still, make it do what it do. So this is a 3/4 view. If you want to get really technical with, proper proportions, just Google 3/4 view and what you're supposed to do when drawing a face at that perspective. All I did was look at a picture, and this is my interpretation of that picture. Yeah, so I'm using my piping icing in black on a dry surface. This is going to help with bleeding or anything like that. And I'm just going to carefully put in the facial elements. Okay, so all I'm doing now is just adding some texture to the hair. Just take your piping icing and go right on top of the dried icing. And because we're doing it on top of dry icing, it creates that separation. So it adds dimension. And these pesky little peaks are annoying to me. So I'm just taking my toothpick and getting rid of them. All right. And then for the mouth, just do a V and then make it into a heart. Okay, so the next step is to create our blue eyeshadow. To do this, I am going to dilute food coloring with lemon extract. This is gonna give it that watercolor feel. And yeah, the key to this is to use a little bit of food coloring and a lot more extract. In the big picture, it's not a lot of anything, but the ratio, you want this to be really runny. You want it to be like watercolor. I cannot stress enough how important it is that the surface of your cookie be dry when doing this watercolor type technique. If your surface is not dry, you are going to ruin your cookie. If you are in a rush, you can put your cookies into an oven at very, very low heat. I'm talking like 100 degrees with a fan blowing inside there. Or even you can use a fan to blow in your cookies, but it's not going to dry them instantly. It's still going to take, a little while. Then oven, maybe 20 minutes, if that much. A fan, maybe 2 hours. But in any case, you just carefully paint in with your new watercolor. This watercolor technique, it has so many applications. Watercolor is really popular now in a lot of things. So, you can come up with so many cookie designs based on this technique. And I really love it. It's new to me and I absolutely love it. And here we go. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, be sure to leave a comment below. And if you're going to try it, let me know. I can't wait to see what you do. Thanks so much for watching this video. I appreciate it more than you will ever know. So if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and you can also check me out over here. And here is about, 20-30 seconds of cookie close-ups. People don't tend to do this, and it is kind of like showing, my deepest, darkest secrets, because you can see all of the mistakes I made. But I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what it looks like. So it doesn't have to be perfect, because the overall look looks pretty good.